Finally, we got a new Halo map in ranked NHCS. It's been what, 6 months? Well, technically it's not new. It's a Forge remake of Halo 5's The Rig. It's called Interference, and it's gray. It's very gray. 343, once again, you have outdone yourselves. Bravo. Truly spectacular. Just kidding. I've seen all the memes and the hot takes over the past week with the community and the pros, not just over this map, but over the state of Halo in its entirety right now. I understand. I agree with a lot of it. There's a lot we could talk about here. Just focusing on the map, few things to keep in mind. It's actually inspired by Lockout, which when you put it that way, I kind of respect the art design a little more. It's also not made by 343. It's made by community member Astro CSF. So shout out to him for putting in the hard work. Honestly, I feel like if Plaza didn't turn out like this, and as a community, we'd be less upset about the fact that the rig turned out like this. Because I actually think it's a pretty clean-looking map and a solid remake once you get to know it. It is a little bigger than the original, though. I saw Bound driving around it on a Warthog. It's still a shame, though, because Forge and Infinite is better than ever. Like, we got Covenant and Flood and Alien-themed canvases. Unique made this beautiful remake of Midship. Like, my only assumption is that there's performance, frame rate issues, maybe with these nicer looking maps. And with ranked and competitive, obviously it playing well is more important than it looking nice. But there's got to be a middle ground here where we've got a vibrant Forge map that performs well at the same time. Apparently we have 2 new ranked maps being showcased at HCS London in the end of May. So the rumors, if the rumors are true, we've got some color in the near future. As far as Interference, though, I made sure to at least dress for the occasion. Now, I don't know how this map's going to play competitively, but it's fun to move around on. Rig has always had a very unique map layout and asymmetrical design that really prioritizes skillful movement and gunplay, which is the kind of language I like to speak in Halo. So that's the focus of the video. We're covering everything, starting with callouts, and then we've got my starting strat ideas on both sides of the map, skill jumps, everything that comes to mind. I've timestamped it all. Feel free to jump around or watch it all. Let's get to it. Okay, so we'll start with pro callouts. I will, of course, be referring to Halo 5 for these callouts. I assume the pros will do the same for most of the callouts. Some of the callouts are a little bit different because some of the weapons and you know, the aspects of the map have changed. And if I missed something, let me know in the comments because I might not get everything, but I should have most of it. This area here is bunker. This is the red team spawn. This is bunker. This is technically bunker 2. We got plasminades that spawn here. You can use weapons on the map to better specify where players are. And then we got tower wall. This here is tower wall. That connects to tower. This is tower 2. Underneath it is Tower 1, where the frag nades spawn, and then above it is Tower 3, T3, which is also kind of like a sneaky, I guess, as well, but Tower 3. Underneath this, BR base. BR spawns here. It's also the A stronghold now, so you can call it A, but BR base is what this was called. This is underpass. Under here is underpass. This connects to engine. This area is engine. This is E1. Down here, you could also call this back engine, I guess, as well. This is E2. Up here, you could say this is E2 plat right here, but E2. And then E3 is what I would call this, but I think it's referred to as lookout sometimes as well. You guys can let me know if I'm wrong. Railgun spawned here previously. This was called rail. I would call it thrust now, top thrust. This is short haul right here. This is white corner. Everything is gray on this map, but this is white corner, or was white corner in Halo 5. This is white hall. OS is on this map now instead of camo. We used to have camo. In their play testing, apparently camo was a little too powerful. OS seems to be more balanced, so sure, most of the competitive maps in Infinite right now are camo maps, so I'm down for some OS. Underneath this is called trenches or sewers, whatever you like. I'm not sure how to specify which side of the trench the player is on, so if you got a convenient way to do that, let me know. But this is all kind of just like trenches. And bat ledge, this is the OG bat ledge callout, by the way. In Recharge, we have a bat ledge callout. That's a throwback from this map. This here is nest bridge. Connects to nest, top nest, and bottom nest. There's an AR on bottom nest. We got a sniper on top nest. This is the only Halo Infinite ranked map that doesn't have snipe for one of its game types. Stronghold has no sniper. King of the Hill and Slayer does have a sniper, so keep that in mind. So sniper is here. This connects to, I believe this is open field. You could call it yard, I think, as well. I think the map is labeled it as yard, like in the map labeling. Not that we typically use that. This up here is catwalk. You could say it's mid catwalk or catwalk for this area. This was called Carbine. A Carbine used to spawn here. Is also the blue team spawn. So not sure what we would call it. It's probably still going to get called Carbine, but maybe blue spawn. We have, spikes here. This was yellow box, I believe, before, but spikes spawn here, so I just call it spikes. And we've got basement. This is basement. This is C, the C stronghold as well. So you could call it C. Nest, by the way, is B. You could call it B. This is basement window, by the way. In basement, we have a commando. We have back rail here. Plasminade spawn here as well for the blue team. Back rail could also be, I guess, back C. This is connector. This area right here that connects to long haul. This hall is called long haul. This area I've heard of as like yellow corner, referred to as yellow corner or barrels. But a heat wave spawns here, so I would just call this heat wave. You know, this whole area, just call this heat wave. This is what I would refer to as a lookout, personally. You guys can let me know if I'm getting them mixed up, but I would call this lookout. This is just out of map. I can't remember what this was called. It's like a pipe off map, you know, out of map, whatever. If you say that, people will most likely know. We got cuts here. This is cuts. This connecting lane is called cuts, and I think that just about covers it.
Plasma grenades acquired.
This is the fastest opening strat I think you could have to get to tower. It's by curb sliding off of this wall and landing right on the staircase here. You can crouch jump up afterwards. You can also clamber up afterwards to get this height. So you can pre-nade out to the elbow for the heat wave, right? And curb slide back. There's a lot of convenient ways to move around on this edge. Now, this platform, this like panel is tall, so tall that I can't crouch jump it, and at the maximum height to curb slide. So I can't approach this in the normal way I would for curb sliding other ledges. I have to do the edge lineup technique for this, which means that I have to shimmy out as far as I can on this ledge while still standing on it. I've got 1 foot on this edge right now, and then sprint forward on an angle and time crouch right before I hit the floor. The timing needs to be perfect for all of this, and then jump right before I leave the platform. If I'm perfectly lined up and if I have great timing, I'm going to fly out pretty far. Then I got to get the angle right too, right? If I miss this, I have missed tower, and now I have to do a different opening strat, right? I can go down low through tower 1 and fight this way. So if you want a guaranteed tower 2 strat, obviously you can go for something a little more vanilla and get the plasminades out through bunker, right? At least this way you get the plasmas. You could jump on this panel, do a quick curb slide across it, and that would be efficient and pretty fast as well. But if you want the fancy, fastest possible way, you got to learn how to edge line up curb slide off the edge of this, which is very tricky. You've got a light you can stand on right here. Just crouch jump and land on it. You can stand on both of these with a thrust. Not as useful to stand on these, but good to keep in mind that they are actual physical ledges. The cool thing about this one up here is the angle that you get. If you have a sniper and you jump crouch to this, you can kind of crouch and watch this lane between E2 Whitehall. You can watch the short haul, the long haul, the basement window. From this panel, you can also jump to this ledge right here. You can full shimmy around this, by the way. Useful to know if you're trying to stay alive in engine. You can only clamber the left and the right side of this, not the center of it. So just make sure you're careful when you're clambering this. And then sprint jump at a perfect frame window. The timing of this jump is actually very tricky. You got to be early enough with your jump so that you go as high as you need to, but late enough so that you actually reach it. If you're too late, you'll be jumping from a lower altitude. Pretty convenient spot to stand. You got a lot of angles you can use here as well. If you're careful and you push yourself up the pole, you can hug the wall and get a little bit more height up here. And you can technically curb slide off that too. If you're very nerdy with your movement, you'll jet straight to tower. Or just get to E3. You can sprint, jump, hold, crouch, and skip this clamber if you're precise. You can push into this and step jump up. You can hold, crouch, and step jump while holding crouch. Something to maybe keep in mind if you want to be tricky. And then curb slide off it this way if you want to go this direction. It's pretty tricky to get this light if you don't curb slide. You got to think about how fast and seamless your movement is, right? You can like nade clamber and then curb slide, clamber, and we're like attacking bunker very efficiently doing movement like this, right? So it's all about just like saving animation frames, having your gun ready. You can also, of course, curb slide off this box. And because of the height of the box, you can just sprint off it from any angle, time crouch, and it'll work. It's a consistent curb slide option here, any direction. You can also jump to this, push into the wall, jump, hold, crouch, and get up here and skip your clamber. You've got a couple options to do the same thing on the left and right hand side as well. Important to know, you've got a light here that you can jump off of. You can't really stand on it. The ledge is very small, but pinpoint it and jump off of it to get up and skip your clamber. This you can stand on. There's a physical ledge here that you can sit and hide on for a second and then jump up into E2. This is super useful to know. The ledge starts here and goes to here. So keep that in mind, but you can land on it, jump up. If you're going to go to this box, the jump up to thrust, I recommend instead of sprinting all the way off and curb sliding, which you can do, if you can learn how to do these little twisted like edge lineup slides, I can hold crouch jump from a crouch position, land on it, and then as I hit it, kind of turn off and curb slide and start the curb slide from an earlier point. So I'm exposed for like a shorter period of time and free up my gun earlier to shoot. This is like the peak of the curb slide meta, I guess, if you practice this and get it down. And it's like, it sounds excessive, maybe, but the better you get at this game, the more you realize this type of stuff is necessary to know how to do.
This model is range certified.
This jump I hit to reach this light is pretty clean. I'm jumping off a tiny piece of metal on this antenna and then hitting a curb slide, clambering the light post. You got to be on the edge. Once again, the closer you are to the edge of this tiny piece of metal, the more consistent the curb slide is. And then sprint, slide, jump, clamber. You're forced into a clamber. So you really want to be efficient with your reticle and maybe try to shoot before the clamber and after in case somebody's waiting for you on tower so you can get as much damage as possible out of this jump if you're confident in hitting it. You want to be very quick sprinting and sliding on a dime, right, with no runway. That's a skill to practice and work on, being able to get a very fast sprint slide out without any space, you know, to wind things up. And something to keep in mind if you're going for this opening strat as well, this ledge, again, very tall. It's at that maximum height, so you have to have that perfect edge lineup. You can then crouch jump up this box. You can crouch jump up here. You can, by the way, shimmy out into this corner. Pretty convenient to know that this exists, especially in like strongholds, situations where, you know, you might want to bait your life or stay alive. You can crouch jump this way as well, and there's a tiny little ledge you can stand on. You could grab the plasmas, curb slide without jumping, land here, crouch jump, shimmy to the outside of this, step jump up this, curb slide off this, right? A lot of little convenient things you can do with, you know, the components and movement to get around here and, you know, keep your positioning, your cover, etc. This clamber right here is sick. I was pretty hyped when I found this. It's a ghost clamber, so it's an area of the map you wouldn't expect to be able to clamber, but for whatever reason works. You have to approach it in a very specific way. Like, you need enough height with your jump, and you have to be aiming the right direction for the clamber to actually give. So I sort of line up the peak height with the pipe, and I turn my reticle to the left towards the back half of this. You got to kind of mess with it and find, you know, the area that works. You can also sit inside there once you clamber up, or you can land and sit inside here as well. You can slide through it and then jump to this point also. Halo 5 had movement like this. If I just walk forward, I'm going to bump this and then hold crouch, and now I'm sort of crouch walk shimmying in this area. Might seem kind of cheesy, but I'm playing with my life right now. I make a slight mistake, I fall to my death. My opponents might still be able to take advantage of me sitting here. As awkward as it might seem, I'm kind of a fan of this. Like, I'm curious to hear what you guys think of a feature like this on a map. It might seem, you know, maybe a little bit cheesy, but it could lead to a sick play. You can really power through the sewers here with some curb slides, with some good timing, or risk your life as well, right? You want to be careful. If you sprint off this ledge and time an early slide, right now is what you're looking for with that curb slide timing. And that's something that you can apply on any section of the sewer. So I can be going this way or the other way. Slide now. Nice little throwback to Halo 5 skill jump right here. We've got like a keypad and a wall edge you can jump off of and then skip your clambers up to the thruster. It all starts with this keypad here. I recommend jumping, holding crouch to land on this. Jump, hold crouch again to get to this wall, and then jump up. The real tricky part here is kind of like fading out and jumping back into the wall and hitting this, because if I'm directly underneath it, I'm going to bump it and then bounce outwards, which you don't want. So just learning to like precisely sort of fade out and land on it, memorize where it is, so that you can comfortably do this backwards. That's the real skill set, is like being able to shoot players and then navigate this backwards. While you're down here, if you want to clamber back up, if you hug this corner, you can clamber here. This is the safest way to clamber in a basement window without being exposed to somebody. Otherwise, you're forced to clamber into the sight line, right? So something to keep in mind. You can also jump clamber out this way. You can skip your clamber to this OS platform. If I sprint, hold crouch, I can just make it, just barely. You can't skip your clamber, I don't think, to the second one. I wish there was a way to skip my clamber here. I feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity. You get punished pretty hard for going for the OS. Remember, you can always activate OS while you clamber to kind of skip the OS activation. What I could do instead is jump to this tiny little ledge. There's like a tiny ledge here if I'm going this direction. I can sprint, hold crouch in the air out of my jump, and I can land on this and then jump up to skip my clambers. Or try to pinpoint that wall ledge from this position and then get up like that. So a couple clean ways to get out of here if you don't want to be forced into a clamber. You can also land here, by the way, which is honestly pretty crazy. Just jump and hold into the wall and you'll land on a physical ledge and then jump off of it right away so that you don't fall to the bottom. Because if I just let myself fall, I'm going to bump it and fall down. So there's some timing, but you couldn't do this in Halo 5. This is honestly pretty crazy. Like, there are a lot of situations where you might get stuck in this area, like nades are going off, you're trying to cut sight lines and stay alive. Like, the fact that I can do this backwards and be shooting the entire time, everyone should learn this. This ledge is pretty nice also if you can find timing to get in here. Nice throwback to Halo 5 as well. You can shimmy along the entire wall to the end here. You need a nicely spaced crouch jump to get into it, though, with some good, you know, like distance from yourself and the wall. Try sprinting, jumping, holding crouch to really guarantee it. So you're going to need some timing to set this up. You can't just conveniently jump into it. If I sort of back off and then start jumping, I can also repetitively jump. So I can move faster along this wall and then get myself all the way to this corner. Pretty sneaky in the right situation. This whole area around tower is like a jumper's paradise or something. There's a lot of different ways to conveniently, creatively navigate this area, skip your clambers, be a difficult target. If you're standing on this wall edge, you can jump to here, this like wall, and shoot bunker at the same time, and you just be difficult. You know, you're cutting the white corner sight line on top of the fact that you can crouch and shimmy to this corner here and shoot white corner as well. So if you're coming at this on the attack, let's say, like I could be on this wall edge, walk off late jump, shoot him, and then stand on the wall and peek and finish the kill from this corner, I guess, you know, kind of cheeky. If you hit a nice early time curb slide from the platform, sprint slide, jump, hold crouch, you can skip your clamber and sort of fly by and shoot. If you're really good with curb sliding, hold crouch, jump from a crouch position, land on the very edge of this, curb slide, jump, and hold crouch in the air. You can fly by, shoot bunker from like a non-exposed position. I'm starting the slide from cover. So there's different ways to sort of finesse this. I can jump, hold crouch, land on this pipe and shimmy along this pipe. I can drop down to a pipe below it right here and then crouch jump up from this pipe. You can skip your clambers to top tower on both sides, by the way. Just sprint, jump, hold crouch with some nice spacing with the jump. You can shoot the entire time as you make your way up to tower. If you want to get to the lookout point, if I sprint jump, I'll just barely make it with a clamber. But the best way to do this would be to take the extra step to land on this little shoulder. With the right timing on my curb slide, I'll get enough of a boost that it'll jet me over and I skip my clamber entirely. So once again, it's one of those things that you want to, you know, work on and get consistent with. While I'm up here, I can jump from the outside to a clamber. Over here, might be tricky in the right situation. Risky. You risk your life when you do that. There's a physical ledge, like on this wall right here that I can land on and jump off of. I'm not sure if there's any real strategic use for it, but there's something there. We got this pipe, throwback to Halo 5. If I'm very careful, I hold crouch and I very gently shimmy. I can risk my life trying to stand on here. I just push into it, hold crouch, and then turn around. Now it's a hide spot if you want to go ahead and die trying. You can shoot through this, by the way. Kind of useful to know. If I'm just sitting here, I can shoot somebody coming up the stairs. Also, keep this corner in mind. You can sit inside it and use it to skip your clamber up to this tower. Right? 3 jumps back to back. I've got my gun ready the whole time. This last jump I'll show here is definitely a little crazy. I sprint jump and land on a wall edge and sort of slide along it, fall out, jump, land on a light post, skip my clambers, and get to this light. I can shoot the entire time, technically as well. So there's like a physical, invisible ledge that starts about here and ends about here, and you can stand on sort of anywhere in this point. And to get there, you got to precisely late jump and hold crouch in the air. You can stick the landing and sit inside here. This is the one issue, I think, with this jump from a balance perspective. Like, nobody can see me coming from back rail versus being on top of this light post where there's a clear, like, risk reward. You can see me in advance. This feels like a little powerful. If Astro, creator, could shift the placement of whatever physical ledge is here slightly so that I can't physically stand there, but can still jump off it, if that makes sense, then it would be sick. You know, like, is there any way to preserve this jump, you know, in the instance that, let's say 343 has an issue with the balance? Otherwise, it's a sick jump. Because in the end of the day, what I think people want with these jumps is just creativity and skill expression without, you know, compromising the balance of the game at the same time. There's kind of like a fine line. There's a lot of different areas I would love to see the double jump tech. There's no way to do Tower 1 to Tower 2 on this map, as far as I can tell. This might be a good place to have that double jump using the forge blockers. And I've talked about this in a couple of my videos. If you can strategically place a blocker on the floor, maybe extend this ledge out a little bit, I could push into this wall and maybe finesse a double jump. There's a roof. I'll bump my head on this, but maybe I can fade out and jump up. Like, especially considering Halo 5 had spring jumping, so there was different ways to navigate, like, getting up to these high areas without forcing you into a clamber, like being forced into this clamber here. Like, I don't think that's, you know, good map design personally. If there was a wall, like a blocker here, so I could double jump, I'd be able to hit this backwards, skip my clamber, and watch nest at the same time to get up to E3. I think that'd be sick, right? So there's a lot of different places on the map where you could have some real creativity and skill expression without compromising, like, I think, honestly, improving the map flow. And that's it for this one. A lot of information, probably OCD'd on it a little bit, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully the result was something entertaining and inspiring. If you made it this far, let me know in the comments that you are a real one. I appreciate you. What do you think of this new map and the update? Let me know. If you want to catch me grinding, I'll be live on twitch.tv/theshyway. I put a lot of hard work into these videos. If you guys want to support me, Patreon is the best place to do so. I got exclusive content there as well. And otherwise, that's it. On to the next project. If you guys want related Halo videos to improve your gameplay, I got more right beside me. This is the way.